there's one simple trick you can do to gain so much SR, and it takes 20 seconds. You do it before the match starts. It's something high-ranked players do subconsciously, and that's why no one talks about it, or that's why it's not talked about that much. And that is essentially... Alright, we are going to be doing a VOD review of a Gold Lucio Ana player. Gold Ana Lucio on Horizon Lunar Colony, obviously, but I'm not going to write all that out. They are 2 to 2.1k. In their notes, console, I know ability use needs work. Alright, let's get into it.
Or what are you trying to play after?
Yeah, because I think those are all the heroes that are banned, because that just happened, so...
Damn, I missed
cool.
this map.
I don't. This map sucks.
Yeah, this map is arguably one of the worst in the game.
No,
I mean, it is. I mean,
this
Paris is pretty bad. I don't want to say anything, but it is what it is. It's what you got. This is what you have to play. So
Shall we
probably
hold on
not the
point?
best. Just odd side note. Probably not the best way to start morale. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but interesting. And to holding point, absolutely not. That was a good call. Yeah.
I'm alright with that.
Oh, then I'm coming with you guys.
Hit
But
tab.
if they get any picks, drop though.
No, don't drop. So I'm just gonna let it play through until you hit tab, and then I can see what you're running, what the enemy's running, and then we'll talk about comps, and then I'll go back and kind of talk about this whole scenario.
Diva's coming up. Your,
Yep, tab.
never mind. I don't know what I'm saying.
No, don't drop. Well, I want to see comp though before I.
Shield's dead, shield's dead.
Oh, let me lower the volume on this a little bit.
Point.
But
Diva's low, Diva's low.
yeah,
Any heals.
you should be hitting tab because you're dead. Tab. Almost always hit tab or whatever the equivalent button is on console because you're dead. Are you gonna hit tab? Tab. I want to talk about comps before I start going into the VOD review. All right, so I guess not.
Yeah, we got picks. You can keep pushing.
I don't. This map sucks.
I think you hit tab here, and we'll talk about at least your comp, and then we'll figure it out from there. Because I don't want to wait too long.
I'm alright with that.
Oh, then I'm coming with you guys.
Tab. I know you hit it
But
before we
if they
start.
get any picks, drop though.
Don't drop. Oh, there it is. There's literally for like a split second. Oh no, it's legit one frame. Okay, whew, we made it. Okay, so let's talk about at least your comp because it's very important to talk about comps at least a little bit. Okay, let's start with your guys' tank line. You guys are running Zarya, Reinhardt. Is that two? Actually, let me make that a little bit bigger. Let me make these a little bit bigger. But you guys are running. You're running Zarya. You're running Reinhardt. So together, they're actually a very good tank duo. They're pretty brawl. Sorry, I don't know. This fat marker is annoying me, and now I also can't spell. So you know what? I can't do the fat marker. I know it looks better, but it just annoys me, and I can't do it. Okay, so yeah, your tank composition is Brawl, that's okay. That's fairly meta, especially with Orisa being banned right now. Your DPS combo or composition is McCree, Junkrat. This is a super spam. This is a super spam composition, or poke. This is a poke comp or spam comp. And your healers are yourself as Ana and Moira. And this is an odd healing combo, especially for the rest of your team. So, essentially, in my opinion, because you guys are a mix of everything at this point, you are a spam comp. And the reason you're a spam comp is because the majority of your damage is spam, and other than Reinhardt, you guys all have the ability to spam in some capacity. Even Reinhardt with Fire Strike. So, I should probably talk about this. Okay, I'll try and make this quick, because otherwise this will be a long conversation. Because at some point, there's a lot that goes in. So the way spam comp works, or the way spam comp wins games, is essentially you spam the enemy, so you don't let them get close, and you do poke damage. You know what? Screw it. I'm in a talking kind of mood, so I'll give you the 2-minute like meta. So here's the 2-minute meta. And this is actually kind of important to understand, at least on a basic level. So there's this is actually probably going to look really bad, but hopefully you guys can kind of see through this. So the meta right now, I confuse myself. You know what, I'll just try and make it a thicker marker and deal with it. I'm sorry. I'm incredibly unprepared. So the meta right now, it's essentially, there's 3 things you can play, like 3 compositions you can play. You can play Brawl, you can play Dive, you can play Spam. And each of these works in a different way. Brawl is essentially, if you think of like Goats, what the Goats meta was, where you get value when you're actually fighting. Not before, not, after, like during the fight. So like Brig is a perfect example of a Brawl character. Brig gets massive value during a fight. Not before a fight, she's useless. But like during a fight, she's incredible. She does healing, she does damage, all at the same time. It's great. And then Dive is another example of one of the 3 compositions you can run, or theoretical, the three theoretical compositions. Obviously, there's variations on all of these, and I'm not going to talk about that because then that's a 30-minute meta talk as opposed to a 2-minute meta talk. And Dive is essentially what people think of like Winston D.Va as Dive, because they ignore, when you play a Dive comp, the theory behind that is you ignore the front line and use your abilities or movement to kind of say, see ya later, enemy front line, I'm now in the enemy back line. So like that's why Doomfist was really good with Dive, because he could just go right through a Reinhardt shield and he ignored a Reinhardt shield. And that's why Winston's really good, because he can jump and he's now in the back line. And then you have Spam, and essentially what Spam is it's like poke. It's like, you're gonna spam a choke, so you're gonna get Junkrat, you're gonna get Widowmaker, you're gonna get McCree, stuff like that. It's really Farah. Farah's really good. Really spam damage. So you're just outputting a lot of damage. And how you win with this comp is you don't let the enemy make it to you. So you kill them and get picks and damage them before they actually make it to your front line. So like in Brawl, the way you win a Brawl, like if you're running Brawl, your team is running Brawl, the way you win is you make it to the enemy and you engage on them. That's how you win. If you're Dive, the way you win is you make it past or over the enemy's front line to their back line. and then that's how you win. And if you're spam, the way you win is by not letting the enemy make it to you, because you damage them before they make it to you. And the way that this works in the circle of counters is spam counters brawl, because essentially brawl has to make it to spam, and spam should be able to break the shield of Reinhardt before he makes it all the way to spam. Brawl counters dive, because dive has nothing to dive in brawl, because all of the, at least in a theoretical sense, like, yes, I know Zenyatta Goats was a thing, but I'm not going to talk about counters to counters to counters, because that's a 30-minute meta conversation, not a 2-minute meta conversation. But brawl counters dive, because who are they going to dive? Dive has no one to dive. Brawl can just literally walk onto point, and there's nothing dive can do. They can take an objective, because dive has no individual target to dive. And dive counters spam, because the mobility that dive has ignores spam's kind of damage. Spam isn't like, it ignores a lot of spam's damage, essentially, because it's just speed based. It's, oh, your Winston dove, now he's in your backline, and you had, a second to demolish a leaping Winston, which is pretty hard. Otherwise, he's killed your Zenyatta, or he's killed your whatever. But you guys are a spam comp, and you kind of are a spam comp because you have Junk and because you have McCree. So the way you win as a spam comp is you do damage to the enemy before they make it to you. And you get picks, and all your damage is done before they make it to you. As a theoretical, if their Reinhardt gets to your Reinhardt, you kind of lose that battle. And I know that was super harsh and very theoretical, but in a theoretical sense, that's true. You want to have most of all your damage done. You want to have so much of their shield broken before they even make it to you. You want to have a pick before they even make it to you. So that's what you want. So I know that was a long roundabout discussion, so sorry about that. If you don't understand it, you can just ask questions in the comments. I'll try and get to them. Or maybe I'll make another video on this, because this is a really complicated topic. But because I can't see the other team, I can't just tell you how to play against what they're running. I have to kind of tell you what it is you're running and how to play that. So the composition you have isn't super optimal. And not that I'm harping on composition, because at the end of the day, people are going to play what they're best at and what they want to play, and don't encourage people to switch, or don't, unless it's really not working or whatever, but don't try and pigeonhole people into doing things they're not comfortable doing, because you'll just end up with worse games. But the reason it's not optimal is because as healers, you have Moira, who's really, really good at healing tanks. So Moira is going to do a ton of healing to both of your tanks. And what this means is your job, essentially, what you're left with doing is you now get to heal your DPS players, who are probably going to be slightly flanking, trying to do a lot of spam, trying to do a lot of damage. Also, it is really important for you to get big nades in these kind of fights, as always with Ana, but because your team is going to want to burst characters down. So if you nade someone, they're antied, they can't be healed. That's huge. Also, you're going to want to try and help your Moira a little bit, because you and Moira have to look after each other. So you essentially don't have anyone to peel for you in this situation. So if someone kind of dives you or pressures you, it's a little bit rough, because your Moira is probably going to be with your tanks, and you really don't want to use nade on yourself unless you have to. So you're in a weird position here, and that's kind of what happens sometimes when you run two main healers. But again, I'm definitely not going to complain before the game starts, and also not in gold. The composition doesn't really matter, but what does matter is that the theoretical behind the composition you want to run, because that affects what you want to do, even if you're not running that composition. So there's one simple trick you can do to gain so much SR, and it takes 20 seconds. You do it before the match starts. It's something high rank players do subconsciously, and that's why no one talks about it, or that's why it's not talked about that much. And that is essentially hit tab, even right now, look at your comp, especially relevant to you and to your play, and be like, okay, what do I do? What is my purpose in this comp Where do I add value to this comp? What am I trying to? What is my objective? It's more than just, oh, where should I position? Because yeah, you have to think about that as Ana especially, but it's more like, what am I going to be doing? And am I going to be healing the tanks? I mean, maybe yes, but Moira is probably going to do a lot of healing to the tanks. So I'm probably going to have to heal the DPS because they're going to probably be off somewhat soft flanking because that's what they're going to do in a spam comp to try and get spam damage onto the enemy. And what that means is I have to take positions that are reasonably far back, if not far back, that have a lot of angles so that I can see the flanking DPS players and heal them and help them and assist them win fights and stuff like that. So that's essentially what your job is. Side note, let me switch to Overwatch real quick. That's a really rough angle to take. Especially in the beginning before you know what they're running. Traveling
to Horizon Lunar. Never stop fighting for what you believe in.
Let me try and make it over there. Yeah, that's a really rough angle to take up there because before you know what they're running, like they could be running a Widow and she kind of pops out and now you're dead. So you have a Reinhardt. If you want to do early damage, which is completely fine, you know, Ana should be doing some damage for sure, definitely. Stand behind the Reinhardt shield or take a less aggressive angle. So like this is a pretty aggressive angle. I mean, it's not as aggressive as like this angle, but this here is still pretty aggressive. Like if a Widow popped out, you probably lose that duel, especially if she's any good. So like you can take a less aggressive angle like this. You know, you can kind of sit here, which is not a bad angle because you can kind of heal your team. Your team actually should be over here, but whatever. I don't know where they are. And you also can get like really nice nades. You didn't see that. We're gonna pretend that didn't happen. You could also sit kind of up here. This is a less aggressive angle. You have more cover. You can get really nice nades. Boom. That's exactly where that went the first time. Or the other place that you could sit. This is where a lot of Zenyatas will sit here. You can sit here because if your team is here, which is probably where they should be, you get nice heals. You can also pop out, heal anyone over here. You have nice sight lines for your flankers because your McCree or Junkrat will probably be somewhere over here or here, or trying to do some damage. And you have a nice view of the point, so if someone goes to contest point, you can throw nade or you can heal friendlies on point. So something like that. Yeah, definitely very good. All right. Yeah, so super risky angle. Just be careful. Yeah, even if you just sit behind the shield, that's fine. Little trouble aiming there, but don't use your... So your biotic grenade is more important. And like I know you did mention at the beginning that you know your abilities need work, so I'll try and kind of focus on them and explain the thought process behind using some of them. So your biotic grenade is incredibly important for more than just healing. So the anti ability of the biotic is so good in so many scenarios, and it literally can be a playmaker for Ana. It's like one of the main ways she can make plays other than sleep, but usually she has to hold sleep to defend herself, to prevent her from getting dive. Sleep is more complicated. So you definitely don't want to drop here, because if you think about what we were just talking about, like what's your purpose, and that's what you should always be thinking about, especially as a healer. Like, what do I do? Who do I need to keep alive? And sometimes it's not always just, oh, I'll keep my tanks alive. It's like, how do I add more value to my team? So essentially, low ground is a terrible position for Ana in general, just because you're susceptible to being dived, but even more so because of the responsibilities you have. So like, you have responsibilities to your team, like we were talking about, of being able to heal your DPS, who you can't see right now, to be able to hit big nades, which you won't be able to really do right now. So, for example, if you stay high ground here, you know, you can kind of just walk over here. And it is not your job to contest point, just so you know. You can walk over here. You have great sight lines to heal your team. If you want to do damage, you can get a couple shots in. You know, you can throw a nice nade in. This is definitely where you want to be. Not on point. It's not your job to contest point. So.
Even sleep, don't wake her up.
Shields dead, shields dead.
Added no real value. Yeah, you're super dead here. But the sleep added no real value and kind of prevented you from... You have to be careful about using sleep. So sleep is definitely a playmaker, and it can be super amazing. You sleep this or sleep that, but it's a really good ability, and it can save your life a bunch. So you should definitely be careful about using sleep. Like, unless you're in a really good position, I wouldn't just sleep off cooldown. And obviously that varies from Ana to Ana. Some people prefer to use sleep more off cooldown to try and make more plays with that. Personally, my play style, even though I'm not a support main, but my play style is to use sleep as my defensive mechanism. So if I am being dived, if the diva does boost up to me, I can, you know, wait her matrix out and then sleep her and then run away. So, but you're super dead here. You gotta be careful about throwing a nade. I knew you needed to heal yourself, but he could have Sigma could have eaten that.
Point.
Sleep would have been really good here to like sleep the Sigma and save you.
And he heals.
But yeah, don't be the first one to contest point. That's not your job. You should not, in almost no circumstance, should you be the first to die. Unless the enemy are like focusing you, unless you are the dive target, then maybe. But other than that, just stay high ground.
Can we get there?
You know, because you provide no value. So essentially, when you jump down, you provided no value to your team. Like, yeah, you antied the Sigma, but didn't really do that much. If you stayed high ground, you still would get some more shots in. You'd have more healing. So.
I can't get there.
Because, like I was talking about before, your team comp wants to do poke. So you don't want to take frontal engagements, and that's always something to kind of think about. Like, what is my team comp? What do my team want to do? How do we kind of win? So your team really just wants to stay on the high ground and just let Reinhardt drop, or even just Reinhardt, and Zarya can bubble him, and your team will just keep doing poke and poke and poke. That's how you win that engagement. Oh, this is Ralph. You're probably gonna get staggered here. You use nade. Ooh, Lucio uses amp, which I guess he has to speed you out. But if you had just went in and died, you still would have respawned in time for their push here.
Dan, you gotta back up. Thanks.
Decent nade. The thought was there. Be careful about leaving high ground.
Yeah, drop down.
Because you're going to lose line of sight. Yeah, so essentially, for this... Yeah, your team is... Yeah, some of the calls are not the best, kind of considering what your comp wants to do. Because if you give up high ground control... Because they're also a very pokey comp, too, if you think about it. I think they're running Ashe, and I don't even know who else. But they're super poke-based, too. So, yeah, you can kind of sit up here if you wanted to do this. If you wanted to get a nade off a little bit easier, you can always just go like this. But you do have to be careful, because you can actually jump over this thing. But if you do jump over it, you have some... I know this is weird map specific, but... Because you can always just sit here. But... Sorry, that was random and not very useful. But yeah, giving up this high ground... Obviously, you can't be on it alone, so if everyone else jumps off, you have to jump off too, but... This is really a good place for Ana to heal. Like, healing here is really good. You have a lot of sight lines, you have a decent amount of cover. You know, you have cover here, you have cover with this, which is really important for Ana, because you really have to be able to heal your flankers. So even when you drop down, you know, yeah, it's just really rough, because you come over here, which is okay, because you still have some sightline here, but now you have no sightline main, so you can't heal your tanks, and it looked like your Moira was up there with you and not with your tanks, so Moira didn't heal them, so you probably want to retreat to high ground here. That's probably the best sightlines. If not, you can retreat over here. Here's okay, because you do have sightlines here. If you want to do a little damage, you know, you have sightlines of point. You can walk over here, you have sightlines over here. So, Yeah, sightlines are really important for Anna, and just kind of understanding what your purpose is and what you need to do.
D.Va's asleep.
Sleep added no value. So, like, here's the thing. Oh, I mean, I guess it did. The Rhine, but, like, the Rhine's feeding now. So, the sleep was good, and it landed and whatever, but, and it's not on you that the Rhine charged. That's on him. But, like, he's definitely dead here. Like, 100%. But your sleep dart added, that ability added no value. So now you just wasted a 9-second cooldown for no real purpose.
Oprah Anna again.
Oh, your Rhine survives. That's because your junk, I guess, got a big tire, or I don't even know. Oh, you missed the shot on McCree. Unlucky. You need to be healing. So, like, priority here, you get tunnel vision. You see the enemies high ground, and you're like, oh, I can get them, I can shoot them, but yeah, a lot of your team is low here. Even if you want to heal the Zarya, even if you want to heal the Rhine or the Lucio, even one shot makes a big difference. Yeah, see, like one shot on the Lucio before could have saved his life here.
How can her fucking... I don't know.
Oh, you guys switched to Lucio. You don't even have a Moira anymore. Alright. Dang. I didn't even know that because you didn't hit tab until just then. Okay, that was my bad. But yeah, so now your priority changes again. Lucio's probably not the best healer for this composition, but again, worrying about having the perfect theoretical comp in solo queue competitive is a terrible plan. But essentially, this changed your job again slightly, because now Lucio doesn't have enough capacity to heal the poke on the tanks that the Ashe is going to do to your tanks, and the other DPS is going to do to your tanks. But please hit tab. I don't know what their comp is because you don't hit tab. So now you actually do have to focus healing your tanks. So your job changed, and hopefully your Lucio can peel and can heal your DPS along with speeding your tanks around. So
I'm coming back.
Nade is not an excuse for poor aim. Like, yeah, the aim could use work, but don't waste nade on that. So, like, sleep here would be massive. Sleeping the Sigma, so we can see the Sigma ulting. These are the kind of risky sleeps that are worth it, because it's an ability that cancels an ult. Because right now, if you stun Sigma or sleep him, during his ult, it'll like stop it. So that's a massive sleep that you should absolutely go for every time. Yep, you just nano the Rhine to peel for him. Like, see, that was a low risk or high risk, low reward sleep. So even if you had slept the Sigma there, no one would have killed him. There was no follow up. There was no damage. It added no value to that. As opposed to if you had slept the Sigma before, it would have canceled his ult. High value.
Nice. We got some big picks.
Don't worry about damaging the Sigma. Worry about healing your team. Like, your team will 100% kill him. So it's unlucky you missed the sleep there on the D.Va, but if you actually want to kind of talk big brain, if you want to start to think big brain, like, your McCree killed the D.Va, so the conversation I'm gonna have is slightly pointless. But you knew you had won the fight at that point. You'd already killed most of them. They were down Sigma. They were down, I think, 1 or 2 others. So if the D.Va gets back into mech, so yeah, if you can sleep the baby D.Va, that's cool. You can kind of stagger her out, or your team can just kill her, because I'm assuming that's what would happen. But if the D.Va does get back into mech and she boosts away, like, if you're going to sleep the baby D.Va, wait till she starts the D-mech, because she'll stop, and then you can sleep her, especially when you're that close. If you really want to be evil, you wait till the D.Va boosts, because she's in a boost to get out, and you sleep the boosting D.Va, because now she doesn't have boost as a cooldown, and she's stuck back full HP, so your team get to grind that HP she has into ult charge.
I don't want that sound barrier.
So, like, again, like, positioning right now, So like right now, it's you can't see your flankers, even though, like I said, your job did change because, and that's why your Lucio's going up there to heal, kind of your DPS players. Um, you still want to be able to see people, so sitting in the back here is a much better play. Like I know your Zarya's pushed up, but that's a mistake on her, and she'll come back when she needs healing.
Dang, come down.
Don't make mistakes, you know,
them as they're pushing
based on
in.
your team's mistakes.
Oh, more kind of low.
Down.
Great sleep dart, but oh, you actually can probably. So I'm torn here because this is gonna kill Leanna, isn't it? Yeah, because there was follow up. So okay, the one shot sleep, you know, punch nade punch or shoot nade shoot punch combo no longer works. Just as an FYI, in case that's what you were thinking, because you walked forward. Like otherwise, there's no reason to walk forward after you slept something, unless you weren't confident you could hit the scope shot or the nade, both of which are fairly easy to hit, at least with a little bit of practice. But yeah, so the there used to be a combo where you could sleep someone, and right before they woke up, the animation was longer. They changed that rather recently when they changed how stuns work in general, so that's no longer a thing, at least right now, as of this VOD. So there's no real reason to walk forward into the Ana to try and like do damage to her, because you can just sit back and scope and nade or nade and then shoot. However you want to do it, it doesn't matter. Whichever you think you have, because I'm not exactly sure if it's easier to do it one way or the other, especially on console. But theoretically, you'd nade shoot if you were far away. But again, because yeah, you really don't want to be here. I think you reloaded with ammo left here, which should be a mistake. Yeah, you reloaded with a bunch of ammo here, and your Zarya's probably gonna die because of that. Yeah, you reloaded with 7 shots. Also, these should be scope shots on your Zarya. So these should be scope shots in your Zarya, not unscoped. So like, yeah, definitely don't do damage here. But scope shots onto Zarya here, not unscoped. You seem not to scope a lot, and I'm not sure if that's because scope is a weird bind for you, or if I don't know. But scope shots for Ana are actually ridiculously good. You probably know, and if you don't, I'll explain it. Like unscoped shots don't leave a trail behind them, so they're really good if you want to be sneaky. If you think the enemy doesn't know where you are, you just go whoop, whoop, whoop. To, you know, get healing in. And unscoped shots are technically a little bit faster. They are slightly faster than scoped. But scope shots, especially at distances, especially when you're here and you're trying to heal a target that's over there, add more value because they're instant. It's like a Widowmaker shot instead of a Hanzo arrow. Think that way. And like, so the healing is instant, it's instantly applied, and it's easier to hit your target. You're less likely to miss a scope shot because it's instant, as opposed to where you try and predict the projectile of a unscoped shot, especially if your teammate is moving. So scope shots are much better. And quick scoping, which is probably a piece of tech that you should know, I don't know how easy that is to do on console, is essentially where you hold, I don't know the buttons on console either, but you hold right click to the start of the scoped animation, and then you left click to shoot, and you get this really fast shot that doesn't really like slow your momentum down. It's instant, so you just be like, oh. You do have to be careful though, because you can't do it over and over again. You can only do it one every second or so. Something else that might help you with your aim, because the truth be told, I know there's a couple of different aiming styles on console. I don't play on console myself, so I'm not super educated on how those work. But for Ana at least, and this is the same way for a lot of other characters, if you need help with like sensitivity, like aiming wise, here's some weird little tricks you can try. So Ana has like 3 different default sensitivities, if you will, in the sense that when she moves, like when you aim, if you need help aiming, you don't have to just use your right thumbstick to aim, you can also use your left thumbstick, like your movement, to help you aim as well. So if a target's walking, left, instead of just trying to use your right thumbstick to move left, you can move your right thumbstick to go left, and you can also move your left thumbstick to move left. So it's a little bit easier to kind of aim like that. And if you need like a slower movement speed, you can use crouch. So like this is how fast you walk, as opposed to this is how fast you crouch. Like when you crouch walk. So it's a lot slower. If you need like a slower kind of movement, like a slight change in your sensitivity to hit something. You also have that with scope. It's slower when you scope in. It's even slower when you crouch scope in. So if you need like a little bit, you can kind of... And I saw you were kind of doing this a little bit at the very beginning with the Ashe, where you just put your crosshair and you'd kind of let her walk into it and you'd shoot, which isn't really a great aiming style. You're better off kind of just trying to move with her a little bit and using your little bit of movement to shoot. That might help you a little bit. So, odd tip. Hope that helps. I'm not like... Again, I don't play console, so I don't have the best tips for you that wise. Again, that sleep would have done nothing. The sleep, So even if you hit the sleep there, what value does that provide? Like, yeah, you get another slept enemy on your counter, so when you hit tab, it's like, yeah, I got more slept enemies, but it doesn't do anything. But for instance, if that diva, so that diva could have boosted at you. She could have used it boosters and just straight up charged you. I don't know if she even had them, but I don't know. But she could have used boosters and just came right at your face. And then you'd have almost nothing to stop her. Like, yeah, you'd have nade, which is cool, but that wouldn't really stop her. You're not going to be able to kill a diva, even if she's antied. Like, she should still be able to kill you, especially if she has micro missiles. Although I see she used micro missiles on Zarya, so maybe not. But the point still stands, where she'd still definitely be able to kill you. So sleep dart there would be invaluable. Nice getting the mini as opposed to using your nade. Nade is not a substitute for poor healing. If you wanted to nade the Sigma, that would have been fine, but and hit the Reinhardt with that nade, that's fine, but don't throw a nade as a substitute for poor healing. There's also no reason for you to kind of come in the open here. Remember, like, sight lines are super important for you. Ana is not exactly the most durable character, so you can just sit here. Even though this isn't the greatest spot, you still would actually probably be better off sitting here, even though your Rhine was in, like, the worst spot. But you can kind of sit here and, do something like that. Even if it's... Oh, I guess you can't stand on these boxes. Never mind. Sit here, do something like that. But you just sit here. You went and got the mini, just kind of sit here, chill. Take some cover from their team, the enemy on the high ground. Which is really, really bad for you guys, because as a spam comp, it's infinitely harder to spam if you don't have high ground, but that's fine. We're going to VOD review you, not the team. So, yeah. Don't put yourself in bad positions. Like, remember, you're not Moira. You have scoped heals, which are crazy long range. You have no reason to be close enough to your team or to the enemy. So, just play long range. This is unlucky. You have to hide. That's fine. You was kind of a desperation play. This is all desperation from your team. The fight was already lost way before this. At this point, the fight was already lost. The fight was lost. We'll go back and look, because you guys win this. Yeah, the fight was lost here. Which was the reason for that was what? Because your Kree is flanking, which is understandable, because that's what he's trying to do is spam, and you guys gave up high ground. Yeah. Although your Kree probably shouldn't be flanking that far, but your Kree was flanking to get spam in, and your Ryan and Junk were in high ground, so... And you missed some shots in your Zarya, and that's why the fight was lost. That's okay, though.
You gotta get on point.
Yeah, see, now it's very rough, like, as a team, because your spirits are kind of broken to some degree. But this is still absolutely holdable.
More healing. Pretty please. so.
I'll go Mercy to like try to do more healing for one person, but like I was doing my best as Lucio, but
That's pretty funny. So like right now, objectively, if you guys go Doom Reaper, Mercy is worse. And Moira would have been a lot better. But like before in the previous comp where you guys were trying to do spam, Mercy would have been better. But
bad healer right now. I miss 50% of my shots, and I'm matching your healing.
I guess
I'm not saying you specifically. I'm just saying Ana misses half of her shot.
it's about like what value you provide though. So okay, I just want to talk about this for a second. Like technically you're probably right. Mercy heals I think 50 damage per second now, and Ana has 75 damage with a one shot, so or heals with one shot, sorry. I believe that's true, unless they changed that. But I don't think they did. So technically you are right, and it does more healing, but it depends on what you're trying to do. So Mercy provides a ton extra utility, especially in the poke comp, and that's called damage boost. You know, you damage boost a Junkrat, his nades do a ton more damage. You damage boost a McCree, his shots do a ton more damage. But right now, you guys aren't a poke comp anymore. Let me go back and try and find. You're gonna run Doom Reaper, Rein Zarya. So you're straight up brawl. Right now, you are straight up brawl comp, and the reason you are brawl is because everyone in this comp, well, maybe not Doomfist, but whatever. The majority of people in this comp do really well when they're right on the enemy. Reaper does nothing unless he's right in the enemy's face. Reinhardt does nothing, save Fire Strike, unless he's right in the enemy's face. Zarya can do stuff if she's not, but she's still really, really good right in the enemy's face because she is bubble. So you kind of have to be asking yourself, like, is Ana the best pick here? Lucio would be pretty pog. And obviously, you don't want to question your teammates' picks because that can just get toxic really fast. But like it's the understanding theoretically what your comp does to win, and then understanding what you want to do to make that happen. So like if you want to play Ana, that's completely fine. I'm not telling you to switch to a more optimal character, at least on a theoretically more optimal character. What I do want you to do is understand the theoretical of how your comp wants to play and what that means for you. So like right now, what that means for you as Ana is you have to be able to get some nice nades on your team, because your team is going to want to go in and brawl. And when your team brawls, they're going to need more heals than you can provide. So, like, can you hit antis? Yes, that would be absolutely pog if you could hit some sweet antis, because that would win fights. But more likely than not, you're going to have to throw nades on your team to keep them alive, because you don't have enough area of effect heals. Both you and Mercy are single heal targets. You know, you shoot a shot, it heals one person. Mercy has a beam, it heals one person. So you're definitely going to need boosted healing, which you're going to get through your nade. You have to be a lot closer to Reinhardt here. Let me just talk about that really, really quickly. Oh. But yeah, so to kind of continue to talk about what I was saying before, it's not about changing to what theoretically is the best. You know, you don't have to play what's the most theoretical optimal character in the comp. But what you do have to understand is what that theoretical optimal character provides for that comp, and how do you, with whatever current character you're playing, help provide that same value. But to talk about what was just happening here, if your Reinhardt's going to come up and you know you're going to turn the corner, you don't want to sit back. You want to be right with him so that when he shields, you are walking right with him. Like, there's no gap at all, because that's how you get picked. So, like, if they had a Widowmaker, you would 100% be dead right here. You're right out in the open. Like, even if they were even just holding high ground, you'd be 100% dead here. Spam would have killed you. So. Oh, you did change to a Moira. Okay, it'd be nice to hit tab, but it's unlucky. But make sure you do hit tab. Like, you don't hit tab at all, or whatever the equivalent key is on the controller, because it's really important to know what the heck you're running. So like now what you do kind of changed slightly, because you have a Moira who can heal multiple people, even though she just threw her healing orb really, really early. So now although you do still want to hit big nades, you want to be looking for big antis on the other team, because your Moira should be able to keep your team up for the majority of it. like, don't ignore your healing, because your team will definitely need it, but you should be looking for big nades. Big opportunities to get big nades. Having said that, you have just been hacked, so you should be calling Sombra. Don't be frontline Anna. I'm assuming that was accidental. There was no reason to nade here, even though I just said look for big nades. But yeah, this is just, both of these cooldowns are wasted. So you even I'm sorry, I had something in my throat. Let me grab a drink of water. Even more so now, you have to keep your sleep dart, like, very carefully, because you have no one who will peel for you. Everyone will be doing something. So try and stay away from the front of the fight as best as possible. Stay high ground, you know, play. You know, your team comes up here. It's honestly pretty impressive that their team wasn't here, but if they're not, they're going to play point, which is not, definitely don't, it's not a good plan. But if they're going to play point, you know, don't walk forward here with your team. You can kind of sit here. You can, you know, if they're not contesting over here, you can sit over here, get some heals in. You know, even kind of go like, whoop, big anti. That's how you get massive antis. That's how you enable your team to do crazy stuff. So.
I need a recharge. I don't have any. Reaper behind.
Yep, Reaper's behind.
I was
That's,
just out of healing shit.
yeah, it's because he used his orb too early, but that's okay. We're not VOD reviewing other people. We're talking about you. Massive sleep there. I don't know. I don't think that anti hit, which was unlucky. But like, see, that sleep was fine because you're trying to make a play there. Even though I know that was just out of desperation, or just out of, I have sleep off cooldown, so let me shoot it. But which I highly advise you against doing, like always. But like that sleep, at least there was a potential that you guys could have killed that Zarya. Like, your team didn't really do a good job following up, but the potential was there. And if that anti had hit, that would also have been great, because your Ryan could have went forward and swung.
Sorry, you can't hear right now.
But yeah, at this point you've lost a bunch of people. You've lost Doom. I think you've lost your off tank. So this fight's over. Again, keep sleep in case someone chases you. In case this Reaper rates after you, you're gonna need sleep to sleep him. You're gonna have to heal yourself here. You're super low. If you're under 100 HP, especially against a spam comp, and they're pretty much, like, especially Sigma's high spam. So that's, you know, the balls freaking go everywhere with him. Again, sleep added no value. So like, even if you had landed, well, I guess if you had landed that sleep, your Rhine could have swung into it, but the Zarya would have had bubbles and nothing would have died there. So
Let's come back.
just be like really patient with your sleeps. Use them to defend yourself, or only when you know if you hit it, you'll get massive value because you like cancel a Sigma ult, or if that sleep would lead to a kill. And that's kind of hard to tell, like, where's that line where it would lead to a kill. But like an anti on that Zarya would have been huge. Sleep adds no real value. Might as well throw your anti in there to anti the Reaper so he can't heal. But that's okay, like, that's minor stuff.
You get a pick here. You need to stop, like, staggering.
You panicked. You thought that your Reaper was their Reaper. Oh. Yeah, you just gotta back out. Yeah, you just gotta back out. All the way out. All the way out. All the way out. Regroup. Oh. Hey, you go for a big... See, like, that was actually a decent play. Like, it didn't work because whatever, the Sigma had a shield up, but the thought process was there. Like, you actually could have went... You could have went all the way high ground. Let me show you. But, like, the thought process was there. The thought process was of, if I hit a big nade, that'll be solid. Or a big anti, rather. Because if you did hit a big anti, your team could just push and you'd win that fight. But you could have came up here and done that. But that was honestly fine. Throwing it from here was fine as well. So, I definitely don't have any problems with that. Oop. You're split from your team here, so you now have to be careful when they cross. You have to be right there when you cross. You have to be right with your Reinhardt when you cross. No, don't use everything, please. Oh boy, sleep. Okay, so That was still good. The attempt was there. If you had hit that sleep, that would have been massive value. Now you didn't, which is unlucky and feels bad, but that would have been a massive. So that was like the first really, really good sleep you've had, even though it wasn't a sleep. Like the first really, really good usage of that cooldown you've had. It's very unlucky that you guys literally, I think, used almost everything. Again, though, you're not hitting tabs, so I don't know what ults your team actually has. But it looks like you're winning. Maybe?
Reaper's low.
Reaper.
Again, nade is not a supplement to healing, unless you're trying to nade the Reaper. Which, I guess, but...
I'm with Ryan on point.
I don't have to say anything there.
We're low.
That nade was, I guess, whatever. But, again, make sure scope shots here, scope shots. Yeah, for some reason, you don't really like to use scope shots.
Sombra's like 1.
Pre-nade? I don't even know. I'm not sure what that nade was.
Reaper.
Yep. Heal.
You should just push in. Watch out, Ryan.
Gonna keep you alive throughout this orb.
I'm not sure why you're going with your Torb here. Oh. I don't think your Zarya said she was going to grab. And they grabbed, and just... At this point, you're just delaying the inevitable. Oh, wait, maybe not? I don't even know what's happening. A nade would be Pog here. Even that was pretty good. But yeah, everyone's dead at this point. So, again, it's kind of going back to thinking about, like, what is your job? What is your purpose? And really what you want to be doing kind of in that scenario is... is either your team cat first here, so you either want to be going with the majority of your team, like going with a lone Torbjorn is probably not the play unless your Zarya said she was gonna grab and you were looking for a different angle to throw nade, but I don't think that was the case because I didn't hear that. So I think your team went under, so you know, maybe you go under with them, or maybe even you come up top, even though I think they would have top contested. But if they didn't, kind of sit up top. You can do some nice heals from here. But yeah, I guess it wasn't completely terrible that you were here. But if you are gonna be here, you gotta make sure you have some sightline on your team. So when they walk out, you start healing them. Like your Torbjorn is fine for the most part. He should have mini here. He should be okay. And then when he's in the grab. I thought most of your team was dead. Maybe they weren't. Maybe the fight was just still kind of happening. But you don't want to delay the inevitable. Like, if you've lost a team fight, just don't heal a target to give the enemy extra ult charge. But I guess it wasn't completely done at that point. I don't know.
Alright, yeah, let's come back. We're down 2.
This is okay. Just stay over here. Even back up more. Go like the steps behind you. No need to be low ground, Anna.
Let's go with Ryan.
Don't be right on this Reinhardt. This is going to be super rough for you. The Moira can heal the Rein. A nice nade would have been good here, so... So, like, this is kind of the fat nade situation that I was talking about. Where... Oh. This... You know, I think you're missing a bunch of bits here. It's low bit rate, but a nade here would have been really pog. I mean, you probably would have died to the Reaper anyway, but you would have hit more than a couple people.
Both of your healers are dead.
But yeah, you really don't want to be there because you don't add any more value to your team by being there specifically, like right here. Like your Moira's here and she can heal. This is kind of a rough spot to take a fight, but you still probably want to be over here. Kind of back a little bit. And if you do have to be here, you know. This is so bad because they still have sightlines main. I don't even know. Like, this is just really rough that your team takes a fight here. I don't know. Try not to be right on your Ryan, though. I don't have a perfect specific tip for you for this like point, because it's a bit odd that your team went here, but yeah, this is just, that's rough. You go Lucio, which is cool. This is going to be rough. Nice amp. Really, really good amp there. Get some good heals in. You're looking to be annoying. That's okay. Oh. Just kind of... I'm not sure what's... So, like, I'm not sure what's happening here in the fight. And I'm not sure... Like, you started to do a bunch of really decent things as Lucio. So you started to kind of try and go annoy the Ashe a little bit, like even if it wasn't kill her, just annoy her so that she didn't do as much damage to your team. She had multiple focuses, and then you kind of just left without trying to get other people out. So like instead of trying to speed your team out or assist your team in any way, you just decided, screw them, I'm gonna go sit with the Widow, which the Widow shouldn't really need any help for the most part. Nice wall riding. Yeah, really nice wall riding. Yeah, the Widow shouldn't really need that much help. Nice boop. I mean, it would have been nicer if you had booped him in towards your team, but that's the next best thing. Boop him away, so now you have high ground, and your Ashe can or your Widow can essentially sit high ground and get massive value. Nice assist on the Ashe. You got hacked. It's unlucky.
Their Shamra's one, dude.
I'm trying to keep your watch. I'm out.
Heal, amp. Okay, so the way beat works, let me try and draw this out. And I think I talked about this in the last VOD a little bit. The way beat works, like let's say this is your friendly Reinhardt's health pool. And the beat you did was actually fine because you were saving some people's lives. Reinhardt had like half health. That's where his health is. You know, you applied beat a whole bunch of shields. The thing is though, during that, you know, and like over time the shields go down over time. But even though the shields go down, Reinhardt doesn't get healed during this time. So like when the shields go down, he's still back to half health. So what you want to do in those situations where you beat to like save someone's life, which is really, really good. That was a great beat. It saved more than a couple people's lives. It hit more than a few people. You want to be healing, like amp healing, like you have amp here. You want to be amp healing the rest of their HP while the beat is still active on them, so that when the beat wears off, they're back to full HP. That's essentially what you want to do in those situations. Now, normally you'd have to think a little bit more about how you want to beat, especially as loot, or like how you want to ult, especially if you have a support ult, and especially if you're Lucio. Because you have a lot of things to counter, like you have Sigma ult to counter, and you have like specific for this scenario on the enemy team. But the beat that you did was fine because it did save a bunch of people's lives, and it's like a tempo beat, so it allowed you guys to continue to fight. So I don't have a problem with it, but it is something to keep in mind that you and Sigma are now going to be out of sync with ultimates, so he's going to get an ult for free. So this is something you do have to think about. Unlucky,
Dude,
but
hi, I'm Ash. I can just unstill the spam right click because I'm a good player.
okay, you're a little tilted there, which I completely understand. And as such, or because of that, I will talk a little bit about Lucio combos. So the main combo for Lucio, because you had a little bit of trouble doing damage there. The main combo for Lucio is, 3 body shots, boop, body shots, melee. And that essentially will kill something. Now, it'll also kill something if you do 3 headshots, boop, melee. Which you can do, like, that's literally a 1 clip. So you can just be like, boom. But, sometimes headshots are hard to hit. So what you do want to be doing is, do your 3 body shots. You boop the enemy target up, and then you do 3 more body shots. Then you melee. I missed a body shot there. But essentially, you want to use boop like Ferret's Concussion Blast to put enemies into a predictable pattern. Let me actually do this on an enemy that makes more sense. So yeah, you go 3 body shots, boop. That was a headshot at the end. But yeah, so if you boop them into a particular pattern, it makes it easier to shoot them. So like you were having a little bit of trouble with the Ash, man, I can't speak, because she was moving. So you were kind of like trying to hit her and you were only hitting some shots, but if you boop them, they go in a pretty particular pattern and it's a lot easier to shoot them. Also, having said that, she was like 1 HP and you did have boop. So if you had just booped, you would have done enough damage to kill her. Actually, being that I'm already 60% of the way to beat, let me kind of show you what I was just talking about with beat. Alright. So watch these. See these bots? Oh, no. Don't kill them. Dang. Okay, wait. Watch. This bot is super low HP. I beat. And I don't heal him. I leave it on speed. I kill this bot so he can't do any more damage. And he's still back at that HP. But if during that time when the beat is active, I amp heals, I'll heal him like under or under the beat. So he'll get that health back when the beat wears off. So important concept.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I understand you're kind of tilted about that. It's also rough using Lucio amp out of spawn because then you don't have it to move your team around with. So be careful about that. Usually, like I'm saying usually because I know it's like overtime, so you're like struggling to get to point. But usually, the only reason to use amp out of spawn is when you and the enemy are leaving spawn at the same time and getting to a position before the enemy has a strategic objective. So if you're trying to cap a CP map, getting to the point first is better so you can set up for some reason or for different reasons, like different comps favor that. So then it's totally acceptable to use amp right at the beginning. Other than that, it's usually not. Like, I understand what you're doing, so I'm not going to criticize it too heavily because you're trying to make it to point. But usually you have to be very careful with that kind of stuff. Because then you don't have it to speed around. Oh, you got touch. You got touch. Unlucky. But yeah, in a scenario like that, you do have to... it's not solely your job to touch, but it's definitely something for you to kind of make a priority for you, because it's super easy for you to touch because you do have so much agility. So definitely something to be very aware of. All right, overall, not a bad VOD at all. Really, really good. I'm gonna kind of end it by giving you 3 things to work on. So for you, I think the 3 things that you should work on is your abilities, probably first and foremost. You waste a lot of cooldowns, which I know you said, and hopefully I gave you some constructive criticism on how to think about, like, what's the purpose or the reasoning behind using them and not just using them off cooldown. The other thing that would be good for you to think about is kind of your purpose, which goes hand in hand with your positioning, but isn't. It's more like, what am I going to be doing? How am I going to be adding value to my team? How do I help either be part of the win condition or enable the win condition for my team? Because it doesn't look like you're doing that much at all, because you don't think you're really thinking about that. And the third thing is kind of when to heal and damage. You like to throw in a lot of damage, which is really good. Every Ana should do a lot of damage, but sometimes that hinders critical healing on your teammates that would have saved their lives. And to go along with that, like scoped and unscoped shots, kind of, I think you should be using more scoped shots for targets that are farther away. It'll be easier to hit. You'll have more like hit percentage, so you'll have more heals downrange that actually hit a target and that, do healing. So that'll be really good. Yeah, that's definitely something to think about for your VOD. If you've made it this far in the VOD, Pog Champ, good on ya. If you want me to review one of your VODs, please post them in the Elo Hell Discord. I'll put all the links below, post them in the VOD request channel, and tag me, Panda2050. Again, I'll put all the links in the description below, and I hope you've learned something from this VOD review, and best of luck climbing.